This is the William S. Armstrong Trophy, and that is what 33 teams of 4 riders each are racing for here this afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Indiana University's 10th Street Stadium. We're here in Bloomington for the running of the Little 500. Shaping up as a great race. We've got good weather, and we're looking forward to what should be a very, very exciting race for this year. With us today to assist us on the telecast and the calling of all the events associated with this, first of all, on my immediate right, Barbara Stock. Barbara, there are a lot of people associated with this, and I know you'll be talking with some of them as well as covering the other events.
They have all contributed in many ways to making this the greatest college weekend on earth.
Okay. Also along with us today to assist in the calling of this race, a guy I consider an expert on this race who's been associated with it for some time now, knows it inside out, and that is Steve Frobeater. Steve, I know we've got a fast track, we've got good weather. Who are some of the teams we're going to be looking for today?
Well, Doug, today we're going to watch the pole team, Delta Chi. We're going to watch Phi Gamma Delta, SAE, the Velomen, and Phi Psi.
And, of course, anybody's capable of winning this race, though. We've got to remember that.
Anybody at any time.
Okay. Looking like a good race. We are about to get things started. Celebration and ceremony is underway, and we will be back in just a moment with the start of the Little 500.
George Dudgeon's Supreme Bicycle Store offers you the finest in Schwinn and Raleigh bikes, plus over 50 years of experience. Experience that backs a selection so large it overflows into a warehouse. This means instant delivery while other stores would have to order. The large stock of accessories and parts covers your specialized needs. George Dudgeon has coached racing teams, so he knows bicycles. His service experts are factory trained to give you service supreme. Come talk to George at Supreme Bicycle, 5506 Madison Avenue at Epler, where fun begins at any age.
This can change the way you make cookies. The revolutionary Wherever electric super shooter. Just load it, plug it in, and you can turn out dozens of cookies in seconds. Make fresh canapes minutes before your guests arrive. Create beautiful candy mints, stuffed manicotti, garnish casseroles, and more. The revolutionary Wherever electric super shooter. Ready, aim, cookies. Check these great Mother's Day gifts from Wherever.
We are just about ready for the start of this race. The riders now at the starting line. They have completed the photographer's lap. And what we will go to now is a pace lap. 33 teams, 11 rows each. They patterned this after the start of the Big 500, which no one is a stranger to, I'm sure. The balloons being released in the infield. That is also a tradition brought to us from the Big 500.
This is a 50-mile race. It's run in 200 laps, and the riders can change at any time that they want to.
Those exchanges are very, very crucial, and we will try and show you some of those and how they are done. Steve, there is one team out here that performs a very unusual exchange, really different from everybody else.
Doug, that team's Acacia, team number 20. We're going to be watching them today. They have 3 veteran riders on their team, and they come off the back of the bike, which is the old way, really. They're the only team that has kept doing it. Some 20 years ago, they perfected the off-the-side exchange, and Acacia has hung with the off-the-back, and they live by it, and we're going to be interested to see how they pull that off today.
Okay, down on the infield right now, public address announcer Jim Pulowski giving final instructions to the riders, and driving the pace car, a very legendary racing name, Mr. Howard S. Wilcox. Howdy Wilcox will be driving this pace car as he has done for so many years. He'll take them one lap around, and if they look good as they're in turns 3 and 4 at the east end of the stadium, if everything looks good, we'll get a green light, and as soon as they cross that first white line, then it's go, and it is racing for 200 laps. Also in that pace car with Howdy Wilcox, a gentleman no stranger to racing either, that is Mr. Anton Hullman Jr., Tony Hullman. Quite a few racing dignitaries, and that is the official 1977 Indianapolis 500 pace car that is leading this Little 500. Same one you'll see during the month of May. Governor Bowen in there also, along with President Ryan, and there they go. This is our pace lap. Delta Chi, of course, is on the pole. They are the fastest team in this race. They have won this race 3 out of the last 4 years. Very competitive bunch of young men.
Doug, in the second position is Phi Delta Theta, who qualified second, and Phi Gamma Delta is in the third place.
Does not count as part of the race. The race starts
Quite a big difference between number 1 and number 3 in that first row, Barbara. Delta Chi qualifying with a time of 2:21.80, 2 minutes 21 seconds 80 hundredths. That was the fastest time. Then it drops down. Number 2 Phi Delta Theta 2:27, almost 6 seconds. Phi Gam, they qualified about the same time, 2:27.48. The second and 3 very, very close, but quite a gap between number 1 and number 2 there.
It's interesting to note, though, that between the 2nd and 10th ranked teams in quals, there was a 1.6 second difference.
Right.
So the 2nd to 10th place teams were very close.
Okay,
Doug, they're picking it up to about 20 miles an hour now down in the 4th turn. They're going to come for the fastest flying start in bicycling.
Okay, there it is. The pace car accelerating now. Pace car accelerating out of the way. We approach the start-finish line, and there they go. Green flag, and we are racing. Heading into turn number 1, and it looks like Delta Chi is going to lead them through turn number 1, the fastest team in this race, and there they go. We'll also be watching for Rex very closely, because during the start of this race, things are bunched up quite a bit, and you will see some teams undoubtedly go down before we get very far into this. Delta Chi leading the pack as they go into turn number 3.
The first few laps of this race are the most important laps. The riders are tensed up. They're all excited. This is what they've trained for months, 3, 4, 5 months, some teams. And the real key laps, we always feel, are the first 5, to where they get the jitters out and get down into racing groove.
Okay, Delta Chi, who had led the first lap and in fact crossed the line ahead, they've dropped back a little bit now. Steve, that might be a strategy move on their part.
I believe it might be. Doug, the first 10 laps are always the fastest 10 laps, with the exception of the last couple during the race. And no team wants to lead all 10 and wear a rider out. So usually there's a strategy to where everybody leads 1 or 2 laps at the beginning, and then they settle down to racing.
Team number 9, Beta Theta Pi, leading them as they cross the start-finish line on this lap. We got a clock on them, Steve. What's a good lap for one of the first 10 here?
Well, I would say they'd be running these somewhere down in the low 30s, Doug. We'll just have to watch and see. It's very deceiving out here early in the race, because there's so many bikes grouped together.
The adrenaline really flowing a lot more in this start of the race. Riders now going into turn 4. We got a clock. We'll see how fast this pack is going here at the start of this race. Beta Theta Pi still leading as they cross now. Steve, just a fraction over 37 seconds. They've got a good pace going. That's a little bit over 22 miles an hour.
That's correct, Doug. We would hope that maybe, we're down. We're down in turn 1. We have
a wreck in turn 1.
2 bikes down in turn 1.
The yellow flag has gone out.
We've got a yellow light right now, thanks to the wreck in turn 1. 2 bike riders down.
Yellow flag, we have a spill on turn number 2.
And on this yellow light, this means teams cannot advance their position. They've got to slow down a little bit.
The big getaway for the Little 500 this year was not the movie starring Steve McQueen. Rather, it was the theme of the style show held every year as part of this month-long festival. This year, the style show was better than ever, and let's take a look at what went on. Most popular events every year for Little 500 is the Style Show, and this year, due to popular demand, there's a special student performance given. Let's take a look now at the singers, dancers, and the models while they encourage us to get away. I'm talking to Wendy Hall and Tony Saliba. They are the show coordinators for this year's style show, and you sure are doing a super job. What do you think makes the show so unique?
Oh, I think it's quite a few things. For one, it's an all-student production. Students run all of the committees, and singers and dancers are all students, and the models are all students. It takes a lot of work, but they give up, a lot of hours of their freedom and come out and practice every night. That, and also the fact that it has no narration throughout the show. It's all done by music and singing and dancing, and it moves really, smooth and free.
This year, for the first time, you're having a student show, and how do you think this will be? Has it been successful?
Well, the student show this year is an idea that we had because of the lack of ability for the students to see the dinner and lunch shows. I think it's been real successful, mainly because students had heard about it and just were waiting for the chance to see the show, and we were able to make up a little bit of our financial setbacks from the other shows.
What is the reason for the style show? There are so many activities. Is there a special reason for it?
Sure, it's another Little 500 activity, and it promotes more involvement in the students. There's a lot of students that are involved in the bike races and regatta, but this is just another way to get more students active in foundation activities.
Have you had good student participation? Tonight you were obviously just packed and everything.
Right.
Do a lot of students come to it, or a lot of faculty members, students?
Well, the lunch and dinner shows are mainly prescribed to by the townspeople and some people from Indianapolis. Students do get to see a few of them. This show is for that purpose for the students. I think the involvement Wendy meant was the involvement of the singers and the dancers and the models. Also, the show gives us a good chance to show the town and gown of Bloomington and get the merchants a little bit of a PR with the foundation.
Well, Tony and Wendy, you're doing a super job, and congratulations on it. Right now we're going to go back to Doug Rafferty in the race.
As we complete lap number 27, team number 5 crossing first. Steve, they're about a lap back, I believe, though, aren't they?
I believe they
South
are.
3. As we complete lap 27 of this 200-lap race. Public address announcer Jim Pulowski has just informed these riders via the public address system that there has been a rut forming down in turn number 1, and that may affect things a little bit as these riders go through there, make things a little bit bumpy and get those wheels out of line a little bit, and we'll keep our eyes on that. Turn number 1 down at the northwest end of this stadium. They're out taking a look at it right now and checking to see how bad it is. Hopefully we'll not have to go yellow in order to repair that, but they're keeping quite a close eye on it. Completing lap 28.
See, they have really gone into a pack again.
Yeah, we've got things bunching up quite a bit again, and we'll watch them in turn number 1, see if we can tell anything about that rut.
We have a bike down. We have a pack down.
We have practically the whole pack down.
We are on yellow.
The yellow lap is out at lap number 28. Delta Chi came through that, Steve.
Yes,
they came through that without going down, and that's the advantage of being up in front.
That's the whole key to being in front of that pack.
Let's take a look at the replay of that wreck, and we'll show it to you as it happened. And bear in mind, there's a rut down there, and that might have caused that.
There, the bike slid out. He was right in the rut. That looks to be team... I can't pick that up. There's 2 bikes down, 3, 4. You can see Delta Chi in the back, and they got out and away.
They got outside of that pack as it went down, and it sort of enveloped a lot of people. We have a rider who is injured. They are working on him.
The trainers are on the track. I've got my glasses on them. They're gathered down around this rider. He's flat out on his back. We cannot at this time tell the team that this rider's from.
You can see there the wreck as it happened, and that is where the rider lies. He is evidently got some injuries that are going to take some immediate attention, and we are going to be running under the yellow until that is cleared up. They may also, Steve, try to work on that rut a little bit now. I'm sure that that wreck has made everyone a little bit more aware.
Doug, they've just done that. I noticed that the head starter, Howdy Wilcox, is down there talking to the teams as they come by, telling them to watch this rut. That wreck did happen right where the rut was at. That's very unfortunate that such a rut developed in a turn.
George Dudgeon's Supreme Bicycle Store offers you the finest in Schwinn and Raleigh bikes, plus over 50 years of experience. Experience that backs a selection so large it overflows into a warehouse. This means instant delivery while other stores would have to order. The large stock of accessories and parts covers your specialized needs. George Dudgeon has coached racing teams, so he knows bicycles. His service experts are factory trained to give you service supreme. Come talk to George at Supreme Bicycle, 5506 Madison Avenue at Epler, where fun begins at any age.
Shakey's is shaking up pizza people. Shakey's is baking up new kinds of pizza.
Hi, is that the new thick crust? Could I try some?
Shakey's new thick crust pizza. It's thick and chewy, and pizza people love it.
All you pizza people, come on in and see what's shaking at Shakey's.
As Delta Chi comes through turn number 4, we are back racing. This is the completion of lap 33, the start of lap 34. Delta Chi leading the pack. The rider who was injured, one of the riders from Rollins House, that's a team from Wright Quad. He is up off on his own power, and he's going to be okay. Probably be back in this race. Steve, that wreck has strung this pack out quite a bit.
Doug,
there's the rut, Steve, that caused that wreck. A little bit of a groove there, and that caused him to get sideways.
Doug, you know, I think that rut might have been from the first wreck that we had down in turn 1, the first wreck of the race. If a pedal or a handlebar would go down and dig up part of the track, as the riders ride over it, they would have a tendency to loosen this rut up.
I know Don Holtzclaw, who's in charge of preparing this track, is going to keep his eye on that quite closely, and there's nobody better at repairing it than he is.
Doug, I believe we have a break right now. We have 4 or 5 teams that are trying to string this pack out. The theory here is to try to get a lap up and then set in the pack the rest of the day, and you're in real good shape because you only have to worry about 3 or 4 other teams.
That's right, Steve, and Delta Chi, well, they've sort of moved back in there a little bit now, and we've got 4 or 5 teams. We'll get some numbers as they come by our start-finish line vantage point.
We have the Velomen.
These are your leaders.
With Delta Chi, now they've slowed up. We have Phi Gamma Delta, team number 7, Phi Psi team, team number 4, SAE.
One of the people who has been associated for so long with this race, and the man who makes it really responsible for the whole show that goes on here each year, and what a show it is Mr. Bill Armstrong. He has been associated with this race for some 25 years, chiefly responsible for the success that it has had. This afternoon, Barbara had a chance to talk with Mr. William S. Armstrong.
You're a fan of the Little 500 race. This man needs no introduction. His red jacket is very familiar to you. He is responsible for many of the activities. The success of the Little 500 race every year really depends on him. This is Mr. Bill Armstrong. He's president of the IU Foundation. After being here for 25 years, this must be a very special race for you. This is a celebration of your 25 years.
Well, Barbara, it's a great 25 years for me, and I'm very excited, and I'm excited, first of all, that I'm with Indiana University and that I can associate with so many wonderful people these 25 years, and this is a great day. The weatherman has been good to us, and in no time have I seen the crowd come in as fast as they are an hour before race time and the manner in which they are today.
Reflecting over the past 25 years that you've been here, how does today's race compare with all the others?
Well, competitively, the riders are in much better shape physically. The competitive spirit that reigns in any great American athletics certainly reigns in this particular project. And the track is in the best shape that it's been, and I think we're just going to have a tremendous, they could have a record.
For sure. The weather's so great. Did you order that?
Yes, I did. You know, when the weather's good, I'm in charge.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you for talking
Barbara,
to
thank
us,
you.
Mr. Armstrong.
Thank you very much.
Right now, we're going back to Doug in the race.
On lap number 39, as our leaders come around, team number 3 in the lead. That's Phi Gamma Delta. This pack has thinned itself out a little bit. Some of the teams that you see up there with the leaders are not actually on that same lap. They stay in a pack. It's easy to ride there. If you get somebody in front of you that can break wind for you, makes that just a little bit, it's sort of a slingshot effect like they have in stock car racing.
That's correct, Doug. There's the rider at the front of the pack is actually breaking the wind for everybody behind him. We see Delta Chi trying to string it out a little bit here.
The coach of the Delta Chi team this year is Mark Dayton, and he is the 1977 recipient of the Hall of Fame award that's given every year. He rode for them in the past, and he's their coach this year.
Barbara, Mark Dayton has ridden for Delta Chi for 4 years. He was an all-star rider for each one of those 4 years, and last year voted to perhaps the most prestigious award a rider can win, the Hall of Fame rider. The reason it's so prestigious is that fellow riders at the Riders Banquet on Monday night elect the recipient of the Hall of Fame rider. So you're elected by your peers.
Steve, let's take a look at this exchange. Team number 8, Tau Kappa Epsilon, going in, and not a very good exchange at all. As you can see there in slow motion, they drop the bike. That is going to cost them.
One of the brightest spots for the past year's athletic endeavors at Indiana University has been Lee Corso's Fighting Hoosier football team. They capped their season off with a big win over Purdue and then had a great recruiting drive capped off by this year's spring practice. That practice winds up each spring with the annual Cream and Crimson football game, and Doug and Steve were there.
One of the associated events each year with the Little 500 is the annual Cream and Crimson game. It's the first look that the public really gets at the upcoming Indiana University football team for the next fall season. Steve Frobier and I were out here for it, and Steve, looked like a pretty good football game. I'm impressed.
Yeah, Doug, the Cream team won 18-17 with the last couple of minute drive that they scored and went for 2 points on the conversion. And I guess we saw Mike Harkrader at his best. You know, Harkey, the man that was the first freshman to ever gain 1,000 yards in the Big Ten. Scott Arnett handled the ball club real well. And I know, talking with Lee Corso after the game, he was extremely impressed with his football team. We had a chance after the game to talk to Paul Dietzel, athletic director at Indiana University, and so let's have his comments. We're here this afternoon with Paul Dietzel, the athletic director at Indiana University, and we're going to ask Paul. He's been in the program now for, this is your second year, your second Indiana football team.
Yes.
You've been coaching with football for 25 years. How does this football team that we saw today rate with some of the football teams you've had the privilege of being associated with?
Well, I wouldn't want to compare any football team with any other football team, but I will say this. I could compare it with our last year's IU team, which is the most appropriate thing, and since many of them are the same people, and I guess I'm really impressed with the quickness of our team. I think we're in much better shape probably than we were last year, and I think we're probably a little stronger, and I like the way Scott Arnett handles the team. And I must say that Mike Hargrader has not forgotten how to carry the football, but it was an excellent spring, and I think Lee Corso and his staff have a very exciting team coming up.
Outlooks for next year?
Well, obviously we're protecting our winning streak. We have a 2-game winning streak right now, and naturally we've got a tremendous home schedule. The first 3 home games, of course, Wisconsin, LSU, and Miami of Ohio, all 3 top caliber teams. So we're going to find out real quickly just how much we've improved, but it should be a fine year for the Hoosiers.
All right, the Cream and Crimson is just one part of the Little 500 activities which take place every spring in Indiana, and this will be your second year of being here for the Little 500, and what do you think about the program?
Well, it's a fantastic affair. I think Bill Armstrong has done a remarkable job. I can't find the right plaudits to say for him, because it's just a remarkable thing to have this Cream and Crimson and the Little 500. The foundation and our athletic department are so closely tied together that there's really no way we could function without the Indiana University Foundation, and we're so very grateful to them for so many things. And I'm just delighted that we have the tie-in between the spring football game, the Cream and Crimson game, and the Little 500. It has to be the finest college weekend anywhere in the world.
Thank you, Mr. Dietzel. And now let's go back to the Little 500 and Doug Rafferty.
They close it up and they tighten it down as they come on around for the completion of lap number 58 in the running of this 200-lap Little 500. Crossing the line, teams number 3, number 1, number 27, I believe, number 21 maybe it was. As they come around and leading this race, of course, the Delta Chi is staying up there. The Phi Gamma Delta is staying up there. The Velo men, who qualified 27th, not a good qualification team, but a very fast group of riders, and we've got a very, very fast race going on here this afternoon.
There is a big difference between the qualifications and the actual race, since it's a 200-lap race and qualifications only make you go 4 laps. If you're a good sprinter, you'll do well.
Barbara, you'll notice, though, that the teams that qualified high generally are the teams that finish high. Good sprinters do have their effect in qualifications, and every once in a while you'll slip in a team in quals that won't do real well in the race because they haven't got any distance. But the real solid teams are the teams that can go from quals to the race in a month's time and be competitive in both events.
Please send a representative to the team steward at the...
We just bet this housewife $50 in groceries. She doesn't always know her husband's mind. Watch what happened. Which would your husband prefer with this chicken? Potatoes or stovetop stuffing?
Potatoes. He likes potatoes.
Shall we find out?
Probably stuffing. Stuffing's nice to have as a change of pace from potatoes.
But how come that she didn't know that?
She never asked me.
Ask your family. Stovetop stuffing instead of potatoes.
Listening to Mama made me rich. She told me right about cooking. Make it down home and pour on the open pit barbecue sauce. Open pit made my spatters what they are, very popular. The house dressing, that's 1/4 tangy open pit mixed with 3/4 mayo. A lot of ladies ask me for the recipe, and I always serve open pit with my burgers. It dresses them up just right. Open pit helped make me a success. It'll do your cooking proud.
There's only 10 days left, and Irwin Furniture's going out of business discounts have people going out of our store with furniture priced at never before saving. No reasonable offer on our furniture will be refused. So if you're just sitting there thinking about the furniture you want, get up. Come to Irwin Furniture. Make us any reasonable offer on anything in the store, and it's yours at a near giveaway. Some discounts are already as high as 70% off, so don't forget, everything goes. Anything goes right now at Irwin Furniture's going out of business sale, 3413 West Washington.
Nobody has to tell you what kind of an orange that is, do they? I'm Jack Aldridge. I grow oranges for Sunkist. Go get yourself a Sunkist orange right now. You're gonna love it. You have our word on it.
At the completion of lap number 60, the leaders look this way. Team number 1, Delta Chi, leading the race at lap number 60. Team number 7 was in second place. That is Phi Kappa Psi, the Phi Psis. Team number 4, Sigma Alpha Epsilon, in third position. Team number 6, Alpha Epsilon Pi, was in fourth position. And in fifth place, team number 18, Delta Tau Delta. Those are your top 5 leaders at the end of lap number 60.
Bring potential trouble. Keep those heads up and keep it a safe race.
There's a guy who has a very famous alumnus association, a former Delta Chi. Nice guy, and I know that he's probably keeping his mind a little bit on other things. That is Governor Otis Bowen, governor of the state of Indiana. Graduated here from Indiana University a number of years ago, a doctor of medicine. He's down here supporting his team, I'm sure. And he's got quite a team to support. A bunch of good riders on Delta Chi. In fact, riding this race for Delta Chi, Mike Alexander, he is from Muncie. He's a senior in marketing. This is his third year of riding in this race. Gary Rybar, who rode the fastest lap in qualifications for this race, he's a senior from Indianapolis. Jeff Pollum from Fort Wayne, Indiana, riding in the race. He's a senior. This is his first year, Steve. And, of course, Rob Brown from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a senior in marketing, his second year. So the Delta guys are going with one rookie today, and then a couple of guys who have a lot of experience and who won this race last year.
Doug, these two seniors on the Delta Chi team, Alexander and Rybar, have ridden 4 years for the Delta Chi's. In that time, they've won this race 3 times. They've sat on the pole 3 times, and they finished second 1 time. 4 years that a housing unit has really dominated the Little 500. Athletic Director Paul Dietzel, I had a chance to talk with him at the Cream and Crimson game. Paul's been here for a little bit over a year, and real great supporter of all the Student Foundation activities.
Doing a very, very good job, of course, with all the Indiana University athletic programs, and very, very capable man, and has quite a history associated with collegiate athletics.
The Little 500 each year is made up of so many events that we could literally spend hours on each one. Since we don't have all that time, let's take a quick look at 3 of the events which draw thousands of spectators and participants each year.
Laking it easy on Lake Monroe was the slogan for those competing in this year's regatta and canoe race at Fairfax Beach. This was the 10th year for the paddle boat competition, as teams of 2 men to a boat paddle furiously as a young lady steers that craft down the lane. They hand off the flag, the other half of the team then heads for the checkered flag. This year in the final heat, it was the Evans Scholars team outlasting everyone else. They were assisted by their co-ed sponsors, Harding and Low Houses of Wright Quad. That same group of girls went on to win the canoe race as well, an event that sees only the ladies competing in it. While gray skies may have dampened things a bit, one of the largest crowds in the history of the regatta turned out for this year's competition. On that same day, some 250 entrants competed in the Little 500 Tennis Open, with singles, doubles, and mixed competition being held for the 2nd year in a row, while the celebrity tournament featuring some of the more famous IU athletes, both past and present, got rained out. The tournament itself went off without a hitch. It appears as if the tennis tournament will grow into another big event in connection with the Little 500 celebration. New to the Little 500 list of events this year is the hot air balloon race. Balloonists from around the state were invited to participate in this spectacle, lifting off from Woodlawn Field on Friday afternoon. Those balloons are the newest in what has become a month-long series of events leading up to the Little 500. Speaking of that, let's get back to it right now. As we approach the completion of lap 100, the midway point in this race, your leader crossing the finish line right now, it is number 1, team number 1, Delta Chi. They have led this race, have been in there with the leaders from start to finish. Halfway point in the race, halfway through 200 laps or 50 miles. We've just completed 25 miles of racing in this 27th annual Indiana University Little 500.
Doug, we see right here the Delta Chi's. Well, we don't now.
And we're back with them.
There we are, Doug. The Delta Chi's. You can see in the middle, that's Gary Rybar.
Rob Brown is on the outside.
And covering up with a blanket is Mike Alexander, trying to keep warm, trying to keep his upper torso warm. They're just sitting there cranking away, keeping their legs loose for when they must get back on the bike again.
That's something that's very important for these guys, because those legs, after cranking so hard, you get off and you stop for a minute to try and sit down and catch your breath, get a cramp or something like that. That can put you out of action really for the rest of the race, and a team that has to go with only 3 riders because of some type of an injury or accident is at very much of a disadvantage, very much of a handicap.
We've gone almost 75 laps without a yellow flag, without any major accidents or pile-ups or anything. It's been a very safe race.
They've done a very good job of keeping everybody up, and they've strung it out a little bit right now and looking very good. And we've got a very fast race, and we would sort of anticipate a time for the total running of the race that's going to be very close to a race record right now.
It seems to be getting a little gray and overcast, but that isn't dampening the spirits of any of the spectators here.
Good crowd on hand, good weather for it. The Little 500.
We are down.
We've got a bad wreck in turn number 3, turn number 4, right down there in the middle. We've got some people who are down, and we've got one rider who may be hurt. Nope, they're all up.
We have a leader down. Phi Gamma Delta is down in the turn.
And Steve, that is a bad break for them.
Oh, you can see that the leaders, Delta Chi, Phi Psi, and the Velo men, are up there. They're getting ready to pick it up as soon as they go racing again. We've
got one rider who looks to be very seriously injured, Steve. He's down on the ground talking with the medical people who have quickly gotten by his side. Top flight medical crew on hand here today. The yellow flag is out. Nobody will be improving their position while this yellow flag remains out.
That rider is from Delta Tau Delta, Doug, and they were doing fairly well today.
They were up with the leaders, just a little ways back from the leaders in this race. Steve, I didn't get a line on all the leaders who went down in that, but I don't believe Delta Chi did. I can't be sure of that. They are racing. They are still out right now, and it looks like they made it through okay.
Yes, they did, Doug. The only leader that I saw that went down in that was Phi Gamma Delta, and the reason for that is they had just completed an exchange, and they were behind by about 75 yards, and the wreck developed in front of them, and they weren't able to get out and around it.
Indiana University President John Ryan has joined me, and it must do your heart good to see so many people here at the Little 500 race every year.
Well, it is a good sign. The event is something that has the right purpose, I think. It, at base, is founded on the idea that students want to and can do a great deal to help themselves. And in the course of doing that, they can have a lot of fun. And I think when people turn out like this, it indicates that they're having fun, and of course the proceeds go to financial aids for students.
That is a very important part of this whole deal. Everybody tends to forget, I think, that the IU Foundation is based on scholarship. Now, the scholarship comes from the proceeds from the race, right?
Well, of course, the foundation provides financial aid for students from other sources, but this whole Little 500 weekend is filled with events, the profits from which, if any, go 100% to financial aid for students. And the students are determined partly on the basis of their academic scholarship and partly on the basis of what they do themselves to raise the money they need for their own program. So it's a kind of self-help program both on the part of the recipient and on the part of the general students as well.
And we have a super day for the race, and it looks like we're going to have a good turnout for it, and I hope you enjoy yourself.
Thank you. I'm sure I will.
Thank you, President Ryan. Right now, we're going back to the race.
Your leader has broken away from the pack and is coming across the start-finish line right now. Team number 1, Delta Chi, leading this race at the end of lap 109.
And he's flying.
Steve, they've broken out a little bit, as Barbara just observed.
Doug, I think that they're putting it all out on the line right now. If they want to drop some teams out of the competition and put them a lap back, and that's exactly what they've set out to do.
The endurance and stamina of these riders is phenomenal, especially if you look at someone like the Delta Chi team. They've just hung in there all afternoon, and that's what it takes.
One of the keys to their success and to the teams who challenge for this lead, as they do every year, is getting long sets out of your riders, getting somebody who can stay with that pack and stay up front for an extended number of laps and not have to change riders very often. That is very much a key to winning this race.
And that way you minimize the chance that you take every time you do an exchange.
There's a wreck along the backstretch down around pit number 3. Only one rider went down.
5-second penalty, the first of the afternoon. On team number 18.
And we've got a rider down, Steve. Looks like he's hurt. Let's watch him as they come down. There you see somebody got out of shape, Steve.
Oh, Doug, that could have been look at the man go over the top of his bicycle. Could have been a very bad accident. But we see all the riders are up now. Oh, they've brought a stretcher out.
Looks like we've got somebody pretty seriously hurt as a result of that. Only 2 bicycles went down, but we are on the yellow light now, racing under the yellow on lap 111.
Today, I try to give my customers just what they're looking for at a price they can afford. And when I'm the customer, I want my bank to treat me as well as I treat my customers.
And American Fletcher does with Combo Account. You get no charge checking when you keep $500 in combo savings. And you get a monthly statement that lists all your checks in order. Isn't American Fletcher's Combo Account what you've been looking for?
Lady, do you know you always have a delicious food topping within reach? You do if you have Dream Up on your shelf. Why plan ahead? Just reach your dream with Betty Time. We have the delicious Jesuit taste and spice cake and apple pie and chocolate pudding whenever we want. And tonight we're topping strawberries.
With Dream Whip whipped topping mix on your shelf, delicious desserts are always within reach.
Me and my arrow, taking the high road.
Say hello to the 77 Plymouth Arrow. Tilt wheel, tinted glass, reclining buckets. You were made for each other.
Me and my arrow, me and my arrow.
You could go a long way together. 39 miles per gallon highway, 26 cities.
It's me and my arrow.
You and your new Plymouth Arrow GT? You know it was all simply meant to be.
Dr. David Tavel and Associate Optometrists place new emphasis on preventive eye care. Dr. Tavel or one of his associate optometrists will examine your eyes for visual abnormalities, including glaucoma and color blindness, using the newest, most sophisticated diagnostic equipment. If corrective lenses are required, we'll assist you in selecting the proper fashion frames with comfort, color, and fit. Appointments are available but not necessary at any of Dr. David Tavel and Associate Optometrist offices in Indianapolis, Lafayette, Anderson, Kokomo, or Muncie.
Lap 185 as we come by. Team number 1 in the lead, Delta Chi. Several of the teams staying right up there with them. This has been a good race, and it's going to wind up as being a good race. 15 laps away from the conclusion of the Little 500.
The winning team last year, which was Delta Chi, had an average of over 23 miles an hour for their speed, and they finished the race in 2 hours, 10 minutes, and 21 seconds. So
that was a very fast race, and we might not see it that fast again. I believe that last yellow might have slowed us off of a record pace a little bit, although we don't know. We will keep very close watch on that.
Doug, we have 3 teams riding on the same lap. Then we're just a lap down, and we have 4 more teams. So this could be not only a very exciting finish for who wins first and second, but then there's the race for 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. And last year we saw an excellent race between Sigma Chi and Sigma Nu for 4th and 5th place. There were just races all around. You know, the top 15 teams get trophies in this race, Doug, and it's quite an honor to get any kind of medal.
It's a feather in everybody's cap to have one of those trophies to take home.
That's right. And so
especially if you beat out somebody who is a very close rival of yours. I think that is something.
Let's talk about that, Barbara, a minute. There are quite a few rivalries in this Little 500, aren't there?
There really are. A lot of the houses are just very competitive in every aspect. It's not only the race, but they just, it's a friendly rivalry. It's nothing that ever comes to anything, but they sure have a good time competing against each other.
Your leader just made an exchange right there, Delta Chi, and that has cost them a little bit, Steve.
That's right, and now we have Phi Kappa Psi in the lead. They're in the lead for 60 yards now.
Team number 7 in the light blue shirt as they go by the start-finish line right now. Team number 7, Phi Kappa Psi, and they have just opened up a lead over the Delta Chi's, who are going to have to work very, very hard to make that back up. There's the pit.
This is the Phi Psi pit. They're preparing for an exchange. They're not going to be able to get outside. They got boxed in, Doug.
The Phi Psi's got boxed in. They had sort of hoped to make an exchange there and been in good shape for the finish of this race. They didn't get that done. Delta Chi is closing up on them. Delta Chi in the green and white. Green jersey, white sleeves, the big red number 1 on their helmet. Team number 7, Phi Kappa Psi, and Steve, it looks like he's going to get in good position this time as he goes around. He is leading that entire pack.
And if he does
see an exchange,
if he does make an exchange, team number 14, Sigma Phi Epsilon, will be in the lead. As that right here, we have a shot of the exchange.
We're watching team number 7 make an exchange. They are the leader in this race. Pretty good exchange, but they got passed.
Very clean exchange.
Good clean exchange, but they did get passed by Sigma Phi Epsilon and Delta Chi. Your leader right now, Sigma Phi Epsilon, team number 14. Team number 1 in second place, Delta Chi. They have been a leader in much of this race, and they are working themselves back up right now, and they are closing, Steve, and have caught the number 1 team. In fact, they've passed them. Team number 14, Sigma Phi Epsilon. So the leader once again is Delta Chi. In second place, team number 14, that is Sigma Phi Epsilon, and then team number 7, Phi Kappa Psi, all of whom have a winning history in this Little 500. What is going on behind us right now is probably, in fact, is the second most watched, talked about, and important event in this little 500, Barbara, and that is the Mini, and that is quite a show.
I'll say, we are listening in the background. You can hear what craziness is going on, and all the teams getting really involved in the race.
Something like 63 teams involved in this year.
There are. This is the first time they have 63 teams. In the past, they've had 54, and they decided to give more teams an opportunity to participate this year, so that's what's going on.
What happens in this mini tricycle race, 4 girls exchange the trike. They each ride a half lap. They've got to stay inbounds to do it. The fastest one of the 3 advances to a heat further on down the line until there are finally only 3 teams left. What kind of speed are these people turning when they go around and make these 2 complete laps, Barbara?
Too fast for me. I don't know. The record time has been, well, you should know. You were a coach for the winning team in 1972. The record time is 39.6, I believe.
That's quite a fast. That's it. That's it. I remember very well.
And the winning time last year was 41.7. It was turned in by the Tri-Delts.
Winning this thing is quite an event. There you can hear the sound of a starter's gun as these preliminary heats are underway. What we're going to do right now is show you the way winning a mini actually looks as we take a look at the final 3 teams and the reaction that goes on afterwards when somebody wins the Mini 5 at Little 500. That is the way that winning a Mini 5 can look. Barbara, tell us about who won.
Well, Harper 5 was the winner with a time of 41.3. And it's interesting because this year, sort of an unusual thing happened. There were no sororities in the final 3. They're all independent teams.
And normally you see sororities like the Tri-Delts, the Kappas, the Chios. In fact, last year's champion, the Tri-Delts, they went out in the first round. They weren't even around for it at all after that, and quite a bit of competition. Things really a very lively evening.
That's right, and the second place team was?
Nick's Chicks.
Nick's Chicks, and the third place team was Dean's Angels, and they were all going crazy. I think nobody was too upset about not winning if they're in the final 3.
Everybody in this house seemed like it had, everybody had picked a winner. Everybody had somebody to root for.
There was so much excitement going on at the end, it didn't really matter, but everybody's really thrilled about the winning.
It was another great year for the Mini this year. 3-ring Mini is what they called it, and as you can see, quite a circus it was. Let's get back to racing action now in the Little 500. Coming around on lap 191, only 9 laps remaining. Team number 1, Delta Chi, the Phi size. Team number 7 in second place. Team number 14, Sigma Phi Epsilon. Team number 14 in third place. Following them in this order, team number 27, the Velomen, Alpha Sigma Pi. Team number 6 in 5th place, Sigma Alpha Epsilon. Team number 4 in 6th position, Phi Gamma Delta in the 7th position. So those are the top 7, although teams number 4 through 7, the 4th through 7th place teams are a lap down on your top 3 leaders. Delta Chi continuing to lead as we come on lap 192. And Steve, I'll correct myself. Delta Chi has dropped back.
They have just done another exchange, Doug, and it appears that they are down, 15 or 20 yards, and they're going to have to work to get up through that pack.
There is not much racing left to go, and they have dropped back and are not in good position to make it up. They've got a lot of traffic to get through. Back to that number 1 team, who is team number 7, Phi Kappa Psi, in the light blue shirt there as you see them go around. coming into turn number 3. Phi Kappa Psi leading this race.
Sigma Phi Epsilon has just put their last rider on, I would imagine, with only 7 laps to go. This rider's probably the one they're going to want doing the sprinting. He's moving up and getting in contention.
Delta Chi has worked themselves up quite well. They are back up there as one of the leaders. Team number 7, team number 14, and team number 1, the top 3 teams, and we are watching them closely. Delta Chi, green jersey, white sleeves. Team number 7, Phi Kappa Psi, in the light blue jerseys. And team number 14, Sigma Phi Epsilon, they've got navy jerseys with white sleeves. So we will be watching them. We hope that information helps you watch them as we watch the conclusion of this little 500.
Doug, also in that pack are teams number 27, the Velo men, team 6, AE Pi, team number 4, Sigma Alpha Epsilon, team number 3, Phi Gamma Delta, and they're racing for 4th position now. They're a lap down, but they're going to try to get the highest position they can.
Steve, the leaders, as they cross the start-finish line, were all there together. Delta Chi just had about a half wheel back on teams number 7 and teams number 14, the Phi Kappa Psi's and Sigma Phi Epsilon, and this is going to be an exciting conclusion to what has been a very, very great race.
Doug,
we are coming around on lap 195. Only 5 laps remaining after the leaders cross this line. And there it is. Team number 14 in the lead, Sigma Phi Epsilon. Team number 7, the Phi Psi's, in 2nd place. Team number 1, Delta Chi, in 3rd place. Delta Chi shooting for their 4th win in 5 years. These other 2 teams both have won this race in the past. They are looking for a win. None of them probably will make any more exchanges. They've got their final riders on. And here we go. They'll have 4 laps remaining when we come around.
Doug, this is a game of cat and mouse right now. The teams are sitting there waiting to see which one's going to make the break first.
They come out of turn number 4 and approach the main straightaway, and they're all 3 together. Sigma Phi Epsilon crossing the line in front. Steve, is shaping up. Barbara, I don't know if you felt this excitement before, but it is a thrilling conclusion, even whether or not you have a team you're supporting or not.
I'll say.
Doug, the Delta Chi's are making a move on the outside.
And they are doing it.
They have now taken over the lead over Sigma Phi Epsilon. They are on the outside. I call it 3 laps.
And you can hear the crowd roar. They are anticipating. They have just completed lap 197. 3 laps to go. The crowd in anticipation of the conclusion of this race. They are on their feet. They are cheering their teams on. All 3 teams, the 3 leaders in this race, up together within a couple of yards of each other. Team number 1 leading down the backstretch. Delta Chi in the green and white. The light blue jersey belongs to team number 7, Phi Kappa Psi. The navy blue jersey with white sleeve, that belongs to Sigma Phi Epsilon. They are all 3 on the same lap. They are all 3 together, and they are working very, very hard toward the end of this race.
The Delta Chi's are going to lead. Phi Psi is right on their back wheel.
We've just completed lap 198, Steve. 2 laps to go, and we're going to see a trophy dash. No doubt about it. This race is going to boil down to the last lap. Barring any accident or any misfortune to any one of those teams. Delta Chi opening up, well, not really opening up a lead, but they're in front.
Sigma Phi Epsilon's in a very bad position. They're on the inside, Doug. They're not going to be able to get out and do any sprinting. They're going to have to work their way out.
Our top 3 teams are getting the white flag. 1 lap to go. There it is. Delta Chi leading. Sigma make that Phi Kappa Psi in 2nd place. Team in 3rd position is Sigma Phi Epsilon. Going around on lap 199. They'll complete it when they come by. Delta Chi in the lead, being challenged very hard by the Phi Psi's. It's a 2-team race for 1st place.
Doug, they're wheel to wheel.
Delta Chi and Phi Psi as they go into the final turn. Delta Chi in the lead. The Phi Psi rider almost lost it. That cost him the race, Steve. Delta Chi is going to win it. They're going to take the checkered flag. Again, the 4th time in 5 years, Delta Chi has won this race. In 2nd place, Phi Kappa Psi. In 3rd place, it is Sigma Phi Epsilon.
And you couldn't ask for a more exciting finish than what we just saw.
Barbara, you certainly could not, and I think, well, it was that last turn that may have cost it. For the Phi Psi, Steve. They got too close on that inside turn. Let's watch that final lap again, specifically that turn. Here's the finish, the exact finish of the race. We'll see Howdy Wilcox give him the checkered flag as Delta Chi comes by to take it. Here he comes.
The race is not over until the first 10 teams have finished.
Howdy Wilcox giving Delta Chi the checkered flag, and there they go, hands up. They know they've won it. They have won it. Delta Chi has won this 27th annual Little 500, finishing in second place unofficially, team number 7, Phi Kappa Psi, finishing in third place, again unofficially, Sigma Phi Epsilon. That's the way the conclusion of this Little 500 looked. We'll be back to wrap things up for you after we pause for this. This is this Little 500. I think the first thing we ought to tell the folks about are the top 10 standings, the teams who finished 1st through 10th. First, of course, as we called it, the Delta Chi's. They finished in a time of 2 hours, 9 minutes, and 46 seconds. And that was an average speed of 23.12 miles per hour. Steve, that is a new race record.
What can you say? 27 years, and they beat the record they set a couple of years ago. A very fast race, just as we called it.
Great race by the Delta Chi's. Finishing in second place, as you saw, Phi Kappa Psi. They were about a half second or so behind, make that a couple of seconds, but at any rate, they finished just behind the Delta Chi team. Third position went to Phi Gamma Delta. They finished third. Finishing fourth, Sigma Alpha Epsilon. 2 hours, 10 minutes, 23 seconds for them. A good race. As you can see, the number 4 team less than a minute off from the number 1 team. We had a great finish to this race. The Velo men, that independent team, finished number 5. Sigma Phi Epsilon was number 6. Alpha Sigma Phi finishing 7. Finishing 8th, an independent, Wilkie South 3. Finishing 9th, the Evans Scholars, followed by Phi Delta Theta. So that is the unofficial end of this race. And hey, I want to thank you both. A great race.
It sure was. I think everybody can see the excitement that goes on in any IU Student Foundation production.
And you have both been great to work with, and an exciting afternoon for all of us. Steve, thank you very much.
Good working with you, Doug.
And thank you very much for being with us for this 27th annual running of the Indiana University Little 500. The winner, once again, in a record time, Delta Chi, their average speed 23.12 miles an hour for a distance of 50 miles. For Steve Frobeater, for my co-host Barbara Stock, I'm Doug Rafferty. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
What the speed, Jim? 23.12 miles per hour. 23.12.
Okay.
Back. You all set now? All right, it's official, at least unofficially. The time for the race today by Delta Chi, 2 hours, 9 minutes, and 46 seconds, converts to a speed of 23.12 miles per hour, and that establishes the record, a new record, breaking the record they set in 1974 by 2 seconds.
Jeannie C. Riley guest stars in that good old Nashville music tonight at 9:30. Now stay tuned for Dolly.
46 seconds, and average speed 23.12 miles per hour. That is a new record. It breaks the old record established in 1974.